The Susan Brender Show is a radio show online broadcasted on YouTube across the United States and globally. The show features guests who speak about health, spirituality, entertainment, and a host of subjects to enlighten people across the nation. Listen to the show that empowers women and men alike and highlights those who have made a difference.
I'm Susan Brender, and this is the Susan Brender Show. I am so pleased to have on my show Robert Guntmacher, who actually, if you're looking for the white glove experience with passion and excellence, go to Sotheby's and don't ask them for anybody else but Robert, because Robert is a #1 real estate agent in Florida. Is that true? Are you the #1 agent in Florida today?
I would say I'm one of the #1s.
Okay, well, that's really good. Now, let's talk about something that's going on now, Robert. You know, real estate is really, really inflated. It's the cost of a house, apartment, a condo is a fortune. And I'm wondering why this has happened, because now, you know, we're finished with the virus. We're in a good situation, or maybe not. So tell me, how difficult is it to find a real estate property?
Well, if you're referring to my area, which is Palm Beach County, although I am doing business in Miami as well now, we have an avalanche of people coming from the Northeast, and I wouldn't say that we have nowhere to put them, but the supply versus demand numbers in Southeast Florida are ridiculous. Nobody's ever seen anything like this.
Right.
So, you know, the competition amongst the buyers is as high as it's been. Nobody sees it changing anytime soon. But, you know, in terms of inflation with respect to real estate, I don't think real estate's any different than anything else. Actually, it's a little bit lower than the inflation in the price of gas.
Right.
It's probably about the same in certain food supplies. Inflation is with us. I don't see it going away anytime soon, and it's something that we have to live with for the time being.
The majority of people who go to you, are they older people or younger people? Who is really looking for houses and condos and apartments now?
Well, again, if you're talking about Southeast Florida, it's people that are trying to escape from the Northeast, also from Chicago. Actually, we've seen more people here from California than ever. And, they're escaping the troubles that we all read about in the newspaper and that we see on TV. COVID woke them up in a sense, because they certainly want to escape density. That's for sure. And, with respect to, density, meaning city life in general, the cities up north have shrinking tax bases, lower services or fewer services. There's more than likely more crime than has ever been reported, at least in the last 15 or 20 years. And, the weather is an issue. The lifestyle in Florida is certainly an issue. And I think that people have decided, well, this is what we have to deal with, and where can we lead a richer lifestyle? And I think that Florida is the answer.
Yeah. It's a very interesting thing. That's when you go to some place like San Francisco or Chicago or New York, I mean, you want to talk about prices. There are prices that are sky high. Now, here too, their prices like sky high. And one of the things that's happening is that they're taking away the old Florida here. How does that affect you? Do you feel that they're doing something that is better for the town, which happens to be Delray Beach, Florida? Or do you think that that's something that really people will really get turned off by?
Well, there's two schools of thought. Here in Delray in particular, we're probably divided, pretty close to 50-50, just sort of like a mirror image of the country. There are those that want to keep it the way it was, and then you have the development crowd, of which I'm a part.
Yeah.
So sales in particular would be way higher. But what we are dealing with now, there's a lot of seller's remorse, people who sold 6 months ago who could be getting another 10% or 8 or 10% now. And whose fault is that? Well, that's the real estate agent that talked them into selling the house to the buyer.
Yeah.
Okay. Again, sales will be higher, but then again, if you're, a little bit older, you've been in your house for 20 years, you have nowhere to go.
That's what the problem is now.
Well, that's what the problem is.
Yeah.
That's right.
Now you're actually buying a house in a place which is right near something called Lake Ida, and I want people to know Lake Ida happens to be a very beautiful place. But when you talk about prices, you're talking about multi-millions.
You cannot buy a teardown in Lake Ida right now for less than $1.1 million.
Less than $1.1 million.
That's unheard of. Okay, existing inventory on a price per square foot basis for a 40 or a 50-year-old house is now $1,000 a foot. Okay, a newly constructed house, the typical South Florida, kind of sort of what we call a white box, where the structure is all concrete, and then the buyer makes the determination as to what the finishes are, and that's really what the real cost is. Those are $1,200 a foot. So new construction versus existing inventory. If you're going to buy a house and renovate it, you're going to pay 20% more for new construction.
Robert, people don't know about you, and I mean, here in South Florida they do. But people all over the country need to know a little bit about you. So I want you to tell your story. How did you get involved in real estate? Because it's a very tough field.
Well, I was always involved in the periphery. I had a private lending business. I was up north where, utilities are deregulated. You can buy natural gas from a third-party vendor delivered by the local utility, and also electricity. And that got me into the LED lighting space. So I was always around it. And I had friends who were very, very big in it. But, that was my place, and they kind of sort of wouldn't let me in. Then about maybe 15 or 20 years ago, my wife and I discovered Delray Beach. And we started vacationing here 6 weeks at a time. Sort of kind of like December 15th to the end of January. And it just occurred to me that, this place was like a time warp, just waiting for a boom to happen. And I used to tell her all the time, it's going to come. I don't know when it's going to come. I don't know how fast it's going to be. And I don't know how hard it's going to be. But this looks to me like a boom town. And Delray, about 25 years ago, you couldn't walk down the street here, without, looking where you're going, seeing who's watching you. It was a way different place. But we have a main avenue that has quite a few restaurants. They're very, very popular, and it's become a destination. For those that don't want to go to Miami, for those that don't care to go Palm Beach, we're right in the middle, and it's been a boom town for the past 4 or 5 years, and nobody sees an end in sight.
Take us through the steps when somebody walks through your door and they're looking for something. I want to know, and I think our audience wants to know, the questions that they should be asking.
Well, you've got a couple of different kind of buyers. You've got people from the Northeast who are coming down here. They don't really want to do anything. They want to buy new construction. They want to call the mover, load up the truck, and empty the truck when they get here. Newly constructed townhomes and single-family houses are very, very much in demand and very hard to find. And then, then you've got a little bit more of a price-conscious buyer who will be looking for existing inventory and, would be willing to accept less than a wide-open floor plan knowing you're more than likely going to have to redo the bathrooms in the kitchen. You might have to replace a floor here and there. So, you've got two different types of buyers. And then you have, buyers that are in different price points. The higher the price point, the higher the percentage that the buyer is going to be a cash buyer. Because the demand is such that there's so much competition. The sellers know what's going on and they don't want to wait very long. So if it's a $3, $4, $5 million home, 90% of the time it's cash buy, and the seller wants to be out of that house in a month.
That's a fascinating thing that people come with cash. Where do they get all that money? I mean,
well, if you follow the stock market, people over the last 10 years, well, maybe not in the last 6 months, but over the course of the last 10 years, those that have more than they ever had. And, there's also, we've run into a point where the people who are receiving the benefits of those that came before them are really, coming into $1 million, $2 million, maybe a little bit more. They already have a home up north. So what do you do with that money? You come down here. Maybe
Right.
You try and figure out how you can be here, more than half the time, so you can avoid paying taxes, or state taxes, which a lot of people are trying to do, and it just creates more demand.
You're a flipper. You came down here and you started to flip houses. How did that go?
Very well. The funny thing is, I'll get a call from somebody, who knows who I am, heard of me. What do you have? Okay, what do you mean? What do I have? What are you looking for? Oh, I'm looking for single family teardowns. There aren't any. The line forms to the left. Well, what do you mean? Well, sir, they don't last on the market very long. They never make it onto MLS or LoopNet because people like me who are in the industry, they gobble them up. So that business, it's not that isn't a legitimate business. It's just that it's not what it was maybe 15 years ago. And coming out of the mortgage crisis in 2007, 2008, 2009, the banks at the time were loaded with homes that they took back, and they were giving them away. Now the banks are much more experienced with those, and they're not giving them away. If a bank has something that they took back from somebody that went south on a loan, chances are they're going to get market value for it. So that business is somewhat diminished. Or now, the numbers might be the same, but the homes are in fewer hands.
Yeah. Now, if you go to a bank, because of the inflationary situation that's going on, getting a mortgage is not so easy. But also, not only getting the mortgage, the number that is going, it used to be like 1%, and now it's shooting up. Now, that said, still, people are buying and people are spending over $1 million.
The $2, the $3, the $4, the $5 million homes and up, it's business as usual because most of those buyers are cash. Okay, who's impacted by mortgage rates? First-time buyers, people that are coming out of the first home looking for the second home. But apart and those are the people that they're west of 95. East of 95 is more expensive. Gets to be the general consumer is older because they have more money to spend.
Yeah.
And west of 95, we're looking at golf communities or communities that were golf communities where less golf is being played today, and that land is very desirable for developers who want to build apartments or flat condos. Mm-hmm. So, mortgage rates, they're higher, but they're really not impacting the business from the point of view of supply and demand, not here.
Yeah. And there are many places, happen to be in Florida, and they're all over the United States. They're 55-year and older places where people have a lot of activities, and that's why they go there. But if you're if you really want to feel young, you go downtown in this particular place called Delray Beach, and what you see are people who are maybe 20 or 30 years old. And I still have to ask, how do they do that?
Well, they're driving here from elsewhere. They're driving here from Lantana and Lake Worth, Boynton Beach. Some of them are coming up from Fort Lauderdale. In terms of younger people, the younger people that come down here and buy homes, they're buying out by 441. They can't build those homes fast enough, and those are the people with kids of school age who prefer to be out there where you have a little bit more of a backyard, neighbors of similar situation. I liken it out west to what I think Long Island would be right now. The schools on east of 95 are, I would say, a little bit less desirable to those that are coming down here, and so that they're out there, out west, and there's no shortage of them. Like I said, they cannot build those houses fast enough. And if you're talking about first-time buyers, in their 20s or early 30s, a lot of them are getting money from mom and dad and grandma and grandpa.
So that's the formula, is to get money from grandma and grandpa. That makes sense. But I just wonder, because you and I happen to be neighbors, and people all around the country ought to know that. And that's why we're talking all about Florida. But the other thing that I'm very interested in knowing is that people who want to go to a warm place, and a place that has beaches and beauty and is paradise for some people, did they tell you that?
They all tell me that. But that's what it is. Listen, I've lived all over the country. I've lived in Michigan. I've lived in Ohio. I've lived in Chicago. I lived in San Francisco. I've been back to New York a few times. For me, someone of my age and my lifestyle, I don't think you can beat it here. Here, a perfect analogy. My daughter lives on the Upper East Side of Manhattan. What can she do? She can walk down 72nd Street to Central Park, pushing her carriage with her dog. And who's in Central Park these days? Joggers, skaters, rollerblading people, au pairs, just enjoying the park, which happens to be beautiful, but you can only do that, 5-6 months a year?
That's
here
right.
You've got 12 months
Robert,
of the same thing.
The interesting thing is that you got involved with Sotheby's, and Sotheby's is one of the best real estate agencies in the world. And I'm just interested in knowing why that particular agency.
Well, the broker here in the Delray office knew about me because I had a very big client that she wanted, and she couldn't get him in any other way other than to maybe go through me. So she offered me a job here. And before I sat down, when I came for the interview, she said, "You're hired." And I said, "Well, I don't know." Anyway, one thing led to another, and she said, "But you have to choose between commercial and residential. And being a development guy, I couldn't do that. I had to do both." So I said, "Thanks, no thanks." But she was, they were keeping an eye on me for a while. And I was in a smaller office with a competing broker, which is not an ideal situation. And eventually, they said all the right things and made it worth my while. So I couldn't be in a better place. It's a company that is populated by very highly by people with
people with gifts. I think you're thinking people with huge gifts.
Very, very highly skilled people, and they're people oriented. They work together. They network in a very, very successful way. The company itself has assets in terms of marketing and publicity that really no other company can compete with. So it's a great place to be. I'm not patting my back by saying this. They don't take just anybody. It's not a place where they'll make their net on the number of agents they have. They'd rather have few doing bigger dollars and bigger deals. So it's a great place to be, and I'm very lucky to be.
Yeah, you certainly are. I'm going to show this magazine. I think you could see it.
Well, now I can see it.
Okay. Now, you happen to be in this magazine because obviously you were talking about skilled and gifted, and that's what you are. There's a statement here that they say you are only as strong as your weakest link. That's why Taylor Travaglione, Vice President Growth and Evolution for One Sotheby's International Realty, is always on the lookout for top-notch savvy real estate agents. And they got that with you. Am I right?
Hope so.
I asked that question, and I read that question simply because it's very important that people know all about real estate and what it's like and what's going on. And in the political sense of the word, we have a great governor who has really introduced a wonderful place here in Florida to all the people around the world. And that's what we're getting. People from Canada. Do you get a lot of them?
It used to be mostly Toronto. There are plenty of people coming here from Montreal. I know some people from Winnipeg, but people are coming here from everywhere now.
Yeah, and when they come here and they say they have a budget, and the budget is under $1 million. Anything available?
Not on the east side of 95, no.
Okay, people don't know that. Now, what about on the west side of Florida? Now, when I talk about the west side of Florida, I'm talking about places like Tampa and Sarasota. Do you deal with them at all?
Not really, but from what I understand, it's a little bit more pricing and inventory is a little bit more available to a little bit more of a blue collar crowd.
Yeah.
So if you're looking to spend $500,000 or $600,000 on an existing home, chances are you're not going to be on the water, but you'll still be in a lovely environment, and you're still going to be able to enjoy the weather and the lifestyle.
People talk a lot about climate change, and one of the things is that when a house is on the water, okay, they're taking a great risk and a great chance, but still they want to be there. Now, what's your thoughts about that?
Well, they're not taking a big risk in terms of investment because they're not creating any more inventory on the water. The price just keeps going up and up and up and up and up, and there are plenty of buyers around. So I don't see a problem there. And in terms of the environment, the real impact has been in the insurance rates. And the insurance rates just keep going higher. So, coupled with the price of the land and the price of construction, the price of windows and doors here in Florida, it just makes it that much more difficult. But is it a little bit wetter the closer you get to the ocean? Absolutely. I haven't seen anybody wearing any boots or galoshes lately, but yes, there's a whole lot more water the closer you get to A than there ever has been. But is Florida sinking? Not yet.
Not yet, and I'm glad to hear that, because there's a lot of talk about that, particularly in Miami when that house or that building fell down. People were so worried. They said, "Oh my God, we're dealing with a situation that we can't control, and it has something to do with the environment." But I want to ask you about solar panels. I know that's maybe not such an important question, but it is to me, because that's one of the things that's being recommended right now. Solar panels. What do you think about that?
I don't believe in solar panels. You
don't?
No, the return on it, you have to look at there are two ways to look at it. Do we want, we don't have to heat our homes here. Are we creating electricity with solar panels? Maybe. Is it less expensive to create electricity without the use of solar panels? Probably. When you're talking about solar panels, you could also be talking about LED lighting. And,
Right.
What we're talking about is, where is the return on investment? Okay,
Mhm.
so, with respect to LED lighting, the more the lights are on, the quicker return. For instance, a car dealer, his lights are on all night long. Okay, he doesn't want metal halide lights; he wants LED lighting, and he's going to pay for those LED lights in 2 years, and then he's going to enjoy the rewards for another 6 before he has to do it again. Solar panels, I think you're going to get your money back in about 20 years. So I don't see the
Wow.
benefit.
That doesn't sound like it.
No.
Now, the other thing that's really interesting to me happens to be that people, they when they come into you and they ask you, show me a house, do you stage it?
You have to stage it.
Okay.
The staging companies are plentiful, and it's like anything else. You can do a budget staging, but or you can make it look like Trump Tower. It all depends on what it is, how expensive it is, where it is, how quickly do you want to sell. But staging is a big issue here. Yes.
Right. Our president, our former president, happens to live very close in Palm Beach, and is that a draw for Delray?
I don't know that it's a draw. He's only about 20 minutes from here at Mar-a-Lago. From what I understand, his children have bought up there and in Miami as well. Does it bring anybody else here? I don't think so.
Yeah. What about the tennis stadium? We have a tennis stadium that is really quite something, and tennis matches that go on every year, and the top people come here. Is that a draw?
Yes. But I'll tell you what else is a draw. Pickleball. They're playing pickleball over there all day, every day.
Yeah. So anyway, I want to give you the last word because we're almost over with the show. And is there something you want to tell our audience about yourself or about real estate?
Well, it's not going away anytime soon. Some of the largest fortunes in the history of America have been made in real estate. Our price is going to come down eventually, likely. The last time prices came down in Delray Beach was maybe 3.5 years ago. They came down during the summer. There were fewer people here. It was before COVID. They came down about 5%. It lasted about 4 months, and then they went right back up. So if you're listening to this and you're thinking about coming down here from an investment point of view, the sooner you get here, the better. If you're thinking about coming down here to enjoy the lifestyle never goes away. It seems like it keeps getting better and better. And I heartily endorse Southeast Florida for a multitude of reasons. And we welcome everybody that wants to come down.
And tell our audience, if they want to come down, how do they get in touch with you?
You can find me at 561-870-8193. I have an office in the Delray office of One Sotheby's. We don't face Atlantic Avenue. The Strip faces Atlantic Avenue, but our front door faces the Seagate Hotel on Venetian. We're a block and a half, 2 blocks from the beach. So if you're skating by or jogging by or running by, the door's always open.
Well, we had Robert, pronounce that for me, your last name. Guntmacher, right?
Guntmacher.
Guntmacher. We had Robert Guntmacher on the show today, and he really gave you some insight into what it's like to get real estate and to get mortgages and that sort of thing. And I want to say thank you so much, Robert, for being on the Susan Brender Show.
Thanks for having me.
Sure. You're quite welcome.
Okay.